like Harold.
Yes, he's still camped out down there?
Ooh.
Harold.
Don't start. I got on Ron's case yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah. I told him thanks a lot. You had me going there, buddy. I called Harold and told him what was going on, and Harold had one eye open and one closed.
I bet Ron was laughing.
Oh, he was laughing. He acted like he didn't remember. I told him, yeah, you got me good, man.
He was trying so hard to get you back on the radio, but I said, he's gone, man. He's on the phone right now. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I call up Harold, boy. He don't know what's going on, man. He tells me, what are you talking about?
Oh, that was great, man.
I cracked up, and he's still laughing about it. He called me this morning. He says, is everything cool? Well, 8 o'clock.
Oh, go or no go for liftoff.
Rams 30, Cowboys 15.
Oh, man.
Quarter, 2 minutes, and 43 seconds to go.
Yeehaw. There you go, radio.
Yeah.
One, two. Does this appear to be working?
It appears to be working.
All right. Let me reset the audio stream. As usual, I ran into some weird problem I didn't know I was going to have.
It never fails.
All right. Let me reset. I'm going to drop the radio stream for just a second here while we change into the right mode. That should make that work. The YouTube video is up, although it is not allowing a proper link, so I will get that set up. that set up. All right, that actually does work. Well, for some reason, when changing around to the different browser, it doesn't allow you to copy the link to paste to get the YouTube video up on the main page. So I will place a link, which I have done, up at the oldtuberadio.net page if you want to click on that, and that'll take you over to the video if you aren't already there watching.
Computer woes.
Well, it's you lose a little and you win a little. And when I went to the other IE, all the cameras started working, but it doesn't allow you to, because it's not Chrome, to copy a link into a Chrome window. So you have to kind of go around and do it the back doorway, I guess. But it looks like we are on at 27085, which is the important thing, because if we're not there, we don't hear any radios. And we are on at oldtuberadio.net if you're listening on your Universal Media Net web device. And it appears that we are also on at the Google YouTube video. I see OBP talking about our sunspot number still at 0. It has been in the doldrums, but it will get better. They've promised us. Just a reminder that you are listening to, perhaps tuned into the Old Tube Radio Network here on 27085 is our frequency of choice, Channel 11 in the Central Valley of California, where our tube radio operators will be gathering near their microphoniums connected to their old tube radios here in about 30 minutes and chatting with us, telling us about their collections, and maybe we'll do some tests, microphonium tests, whatever. Your favorite radios, hopefully, will be parading by your radio tonight. We start with the direct net roll call, the shortwave listeners, whether they be right here in town or perhaps online at oldtuberadio.net. And I see many of you out there so far tonight. Hello, San Francisco, Ohio, South Carolina. Pennsylvania is in. Likewise, New Jersey, Tennessee, North Carolina, Alabama, Colorado. A couple of stations from Colorado tonight. Hello, South Carolina. We've got Maryland, Utah, Washington, New York, and lots of stations from California. And as we mentioned last week, for those of you that we cannot hear live at 27085, but if you have been on an old tube radio this week, drop us a note on the comment section at the oldtuberadio.net page, or if you're on the video, leave us a chat message of the radio that you used, your old tube radio that you used this week, and we will add it to our digital tube radio list, and we'll read that off as well, because I know we aren't the only ones here lighting up the tubes in the Central Valley. I know it happens all over, so I'd like to find out what kind of radios made it on the air this week. With that said, starting our 34th year, the Old Tube Radio Network will do the directed net roll call. We start with 00, chosen from those with perfect attendance from the last 8-week roll call, and that would be Phil.
Well, good evening, Dennis and the net. 00, checking in.
All right, thanks for checking in and getting us started off. I know you would be on time. It's just if I can get everything working and going here. Let's see. What should I do for the video? We're going to pop up the Orban loudest meter. So if you want to see how your audio looks on the meter when you check in, you can take a look on the video screen. Thanks. We've also got to check in for SWL number 1 and likewise Mr. OBP, SWL number 2 over on the video side. He's trying to drum up some sunspots for us. I don't know if you can go up into the magic drone and drop some dry ice crystals or something. We can't get the band to open up tonight. Last couple of weeks we have heard Skip coming in, talk to 709 from Spokane the last couple of weeks, so we'll see what happens when the band opens. SWL number 3, getting Rob checked in. So I'm at the bowling alley, and I think he left me an email from far out places where he might be. So if you're listening in, Rob, we've got you checked in. SWL 4. SWL 5, Ida Mama Rose, one of the net controllers here from long ago, checking in early this week. How about SWL 6? Shortwave listener 7.
SWL 7, checking in.
Thank you, Ed. Heard you say you had some QRN earlier, so hopefully that is subsiding. SWL, where are we going? 11 and 12. Jim and Lisa checking in via email over to SWL 13. And if I was a smart guy, I would be updating my refresh comment list for those of you that do check in at oldtuberadio.net. Keep an eye out there. Also, the link is in the comments section for the YouTube video, if anybody would like to go to that if you aren't there already. Let's try SWL 14. SWL 15. SWL 16. SWL 17. Shortwave listener 18. SWL 19. Glow in the Dark Tube Radio is coming up after the roll call in about 25 minutes. SWL 20. I don't see that I have a proxy check-in for Harvey, but might need one for him tonight. SWL 21. It's Mr. JT out of South Carolina, somewhere surviving in the Wasama swamps. And what was the radio tonight? A 124. I'm not familiar with the Johnson 124. I believe that is solid state radio. Then the Wasama Superstation. I see a JT on the list. The world's deepest ground rod. So does that mean you have lightning protection out there? Probably not. Still disconnect the coax when it gets rough. Thanks for checking in tonight. SWL 22. SWL 20.
I can't run fast anymore. Okay, 20 and 29 when you can, and I'll be back after a while if I don't freeze.
Okay, yeah, there's a bit of delay if you're listening on the Universal Media Net web, so by the time you put down a device and get into the Radio Shack. But I like the way you called. I like your tone call alert there. It actually alerted net control. All right, listen in, and we'll be talking to you later. SWL 23. SWL 24.
24, checking in.
SWL 24. Hello, Joseph. We've got you checked in, sounding good. Happy New Year.
Finally got a night off.
Those things happen once in a while. They make a mistake and they let you out. All right, well, enjoy it. Do something fun. Thanks for taking a little time out to check in here tonight. SWL 25.
Hello, Dennis. Happy Big Potato evening. Back to you.
And I was all ready to talk about the Big Potato Market and all things Eastontown, and we didn't get our Easton check-in just yet. Sometimes he checks in on Facebook, so I will check that out. But you are sounding good. And I should wave a hand to our video stations tuning in. Smarty out in New York saying hello all, where it is late. Getting late there. And Mr. Delta Delta X-Ray also waving a hand. Hello, Ray. We'll be getting to you shortly. And we'll look for SWL. Who's next? 27. And sounding good doing it. KB6GFD. And from the crossband, sounding good in the FM radio. Mr. Dwayne checking in. Over on page 2, that'll take us to SWL 29. We have a proxy check-in for Bill. And the next item on my list is SWL 31. And I will head over to the roster. If I click the right mouse here. And we will look for Hendersonville, Tennessee, right there. Right there in the good seats. We can see forward, backward, up and down as well. Hope all is going well in Hendersonville tonight. Thanks for tuning in yet again to the old Tube Radio Network. Hopefully we'll get some of your favorite radios checking in tonight. SWL 32. SWL 33. Myself, Bozo Control, the Jingle Singers. I haven't seen Bozo Control. See the Jingle Singers over in the other studio. Oh, okay, there's Bozo Control popping into the studio here to honk the proboscis. So, good deal on that. We head over to SWL 34. SWL 35 from the cold Wyoming area. I think I saw Mr. Bill checking in. I know there's some good stuff on TV tonight from Cowboy Country, indeed, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Hi, Bill. Thanks for checking in. And I know the mobile radio fun machine has been out and about, spreading its joyous wares for all to partake. Good deal. Thanks for checking in. And the bands have been opening up. Just might hear us wafting in here tonight. SWL 36. And hello, Roy. You are sounding good from Central Fresno. Thanks for checking into the old Tube Radio Network. And not sure if we've got a microphonium ready for this station or not. Might be listening in. Hello, Chris, if you're listening in, over. And we will get you checked in. X in the square for Mr. Go Boy. Was waving a hand, trying not to be ornery, but might come natural. Who's next? The next on my list is SWL 39.
39 checking in.
39 checking in, and you are sounding good. You've got the waves, radio waves, beaconing in here into Midtown well tonight.
I hope so.
No, it sounds good. Definitely sounds good. Not only can we hear you in Midtown Fresno, but all over the earth. Thanks to oldtuberadio.net. Thanks for checking in. Over to SWL 40.
SWL 40 checking in.
Sounding good. I noticed there was some event in Chinatown this evening, or today rather, about going through the underground tunnels. Did you participate in that?
I did not. I missed that. Of course, I'm always underground here in Chinatown.
All right, sounded interesting. The old underground tunnels that I guess were kind of secret things, or had some type of tour on that. I thought maybe you would bring the HT and see if you could transmit from the underground tunnels. All right, we got you checked in. Thanks for listening. We're also adjusting the lettuce, tomato, and cheese on the cheeseburger so that Rodney can get us tuned in. It looks like we must have our special sauce in order over at oldtuberadio.net. Let's try SWL41.
Hi, May.
SWL42.
42, and the rest of the gang for a triple play.
All right, so we'll do at the appropriate time. You are sounding good. We've got you checked in over.
May.
And who is that, over?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you missed the underground tunnel tour, there's going to be another one coming up in a short while, like a few weeks. So if you missed this one, you can catch the next one.
All right, might be something. You take the portable radio. You know how Mike does at Christmas Tree Lane? Maybe we can get a check-in from the underground tunnels.
Oh, man. I think you'll have a better chance of winning the lottery as far as getting out is concerned.
Yeah, get your subterranean submarine antenna, see what happens. All right, thanks for the info there. Let's head on to SWL43. Beaconing and tuned in early, as always, SWL44, Mr. 360 Ray, who is all over the place. He's at oldtuberadio.net. He's on the video side if you want to say hello to Mr. Ray, Mr. DDX, and he's also waving a hand here at Old Tube Radio Control, saying, get me checked in, and we will do that. SWL45.
45, checking in. Sounding good, Dennis.
Sounding good now. We'll see what happens at 10 o'clock. I don't smell smoke, so we might make it through. And likewise, sounding good from North Fork. Hope you and Kelly are having a great 2019. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis.
SWL46. Moments ago from the crossband, SWL47. Might hear him a little bit later in the evening, but if not, we've got Michael checked in. SWL48. Sometimes Sam checks in on the Facebook side. We'll keep an eye out for that. SWL49. SWL50.
Take off your headphones there. 50 checking in.
And he quick keys, too. I didn't have a chance to even get the pen out of my hand. But you know what? I have the volume adjusted properly tonight. So hopefully I'll hear the way out stations as well. But you're sounding good as always, Mark, and you are checked in. SWL51.
51, checking in.
SWL51, the second good-sounding Sanger station that I have talked to tonight. Mr. 305, we got you checked in. Thanks. SWL52. SWL53.
Hello, Dennis. I hope you're doing good. 53 checking in.
Having a good time checking in the shortwave listeners and expecting a lot of radios as well. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Dennis.
Speaking of radios, we'll be getting to them after the roll call here in, looks like, less than 15 minutes as we head over to page 3 and look for SWL54. SWL55. Station that got us started off as 00, SWL56.
56, just for kicks.
You've got all the wires and tubes connected. The steam is rising and sounding good. Thanks.
Break OTR.
The break OTR. Go ahead, please.
55, checking in, Dennis.
That's what happens when the air gets cold. It takes longer for that signal to... takes longer for my wimpy signal to make it up the hill. You are sounding good, sir.
Thank you, Dennis.
All right, M&M is checked in. Over to SWL 57. SWL 58. Shortwave listener 59. SWL 60.
Right here, Dennis. On the top of the evening to you. Dallas lost. Rams won. They send Dallas home. Check me in, SWL 60 on the 2901 base, the DX 2527.
All right, sounds like it might be time for celebration over there. And you are sounding very nice on the Old Tube Radio Network. Got you checked in.
Thank you much, Dennis.
Takes us to SWL 61.
51, checking in, Dennis.
Good signal, nice audio, sir. 61 is checked in on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis.
SWL 62.
Anytime, Dennis. This is 62, checking in from downtown Clovis. On frequency and on time.
I'll say, you've got that rig in tip-top shape for 2019. Another good check-in, and we will get the X in the square for beautiful downtown Clovis. Thanks. SWL 63. That's Bubba out of New York and representing all our Big Iron East Coast stations tonight. Thanks for tuning in on a late night here on the 11 meter side. Seeing if we can't generate some good RF for you all tonight. Thanks for checking in. SWL 64. SWL 65.
65, checking in.
SWL 65. Hello, Eric. I will put the X there, and we'll mark it on the big board and making it totally official on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
SWL 66. SWL 67. SWL 68. SWL 69.
69, checking in, Dennis. It's Mustang 2.
Mustang 2 always doing a good job. Nice audio to boot. Got you checked in. Thanks. SWL 70. SWL 71. SWL 72. Oh, SWL 71. I'm just looking at the wrong paper, Stan. Hopefully you didn't knock the iced tea over onto the Rockola there, trying to get my attention. SWL 71. We've got an X in the square. Stan is out there. Checking in from, where is Stan? That's right. He's in Dallas, Georgia. Amongst all his tube radio friends, one of which I'm sure is the Pierce Simpson Guardian 23. We'll see if we can't scare up a Guardian 23 tonight. I know they're out there. So Stan is in 72. How about SWL 73?
We're going to just have to give him a proxy. Why don't you give 135 a proxy too?
Okay, we'll do that. So we'll get to Cliff. We'll get him checked in. John is also checked in. Next time I see him, I'll have to find out if he can crank one of his non-Class D 11-meter radios up on this frequency. That would be a treat. I think I could hear him from where he's at. He may be horizontally polarized, though. That could be an issue. Thanks for that. SWL 74.
Yeah, Dennis, if you could proxy in 74, that'd be greatly appreciated.
All right, we will get SWL 74 checked in. And while we're at it, let me go over to page 1 and say SWL 25.
Yes, sir.
All right. If I didn't get you checked in, you're checked in now. Over.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I was because we talked about the baked potato.
Yeah, for some reason I put the X in the wrong spot. See what happens when we talk about those things?
Well, you probably put it on the potato. Anyway, thanks, Dennis.
All right. Well, you were on the big board, I'm sure, so. Everybody except me knows where we're supposed to be right now. Thanks. And 74 is checked in as well. Direct Net roll call, the Old Tube Radio Network, where we often talk about the classic tube radios of the Class D 11-meter Citizen Band radio service from 1958 when they started making them and opened up the 11-meter band to that mode of operation in 1978 when they basically stopped making them because nobody wanted to put tubes in their stuff anymore. But thanks to our radio operators and collectors, those tube radios live on here in 2019, and we will be talking to some of them coming up here after the roll call in about 7 minutes, looking for SWL 75. SWL 77.
77, the old Tower of Power, waving a hand and checking in.
And sounding good on the basic radio, right? The basic microphonium, and it's basically good. SWL 78. SWL 79. All right, he was out there earlier. How about SWL 80? Over to page 4, SWL 81. SWL 82.
82 checking in from the ditch banks of Iowa.
Sounding good from the ditch banks, and he's got the ditch bank boinger online as well tonight.
All right. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, sir. That's Mr. Ron out there in the northern ditch banks where we had fog the other night. I don't think we're going to have any fog tonight. We might even have some rain coming up. Let's go over to SWL 84. SWL 85. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a proxy check-in for the whole group over there, 84, 86, 87, and 88. So if you're listening in from your device there, Jerry, we've got you and the Mountain Maid and Tandy Girl and Snowy Owl checked in. Over to SWL 89. SWL 90 is checked in like a boss. SWL 92. Never quite know if I can make it out to Madera Town these days. SWL 93. And the note says if John doesn't make it live, proxy in 85, which I will do. He might show up in just a moment here, but we got 85. Thanks for the update on that. Also, hello to... Supposed to say hello to somebody. Oh, out there in Iowa, the mighty Juliet Whiskey. Hello, John. KJG 4755. Probably base, unless you're on the Unit 1 and the Unit 2, but probably on the base station tonight. Looking good. Over to, let me call Louie again. SWL 93. And I will check the Facebook because I know you said you were going to try and check in there, and you've been doing a good job of that. SWL 98.
Check it in, Dennis.
Okay, I guess my My signal is actually making it out there tonight. You sound great here in Midtown.
You're sounding good, too. Thanks for the check-in.
Thanks for tuning in the Old Tube Radio Network. And now, Jeffrey. Jeff, SWL 103.
Cheesy 103, checking in.
Cheesy E looking good at 103 with the X in the square. Thanks for tuning in the Old Tube Radio Network tonight.
Yeah, no problem.
And we've got SWL 109. Shortwave listener 110. SWL 111 checked in earlier from the big town of Reedley. I think the sun goes down an hour earlier there. you have different hours to stay on the air. I got you in, Robert, if you are listening or tuning in the archive at some point. SWL 113. SWL 114.
114, checking in.
114. Hello, Wayne. We've got you checked in on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Thanks. And Stan, that sounds interesting about the air check. I will remember to mention that when we start on the tubes here. I'll see if I can check that out. That probably, I think you said it's 7189. So if it's during the day, I'm sure we won't hear that. Yeah, 3 to 5. It's interesting. It might happen if I catch it early enough before the sun starts changing. And I'm going to be putting up a 40-meter antenna here pretty soon, I think. So hopefully, that would be interesting. Yeah, it does sound familiar. Nothing wrong with an air check. What do we call it here on 11 meters of video gate? Is that what they call it? Radio's coming up. Don't go away. SWL 128, John Lee. Did I see you? Let me scroll down the page, because you're usually pretty good about being on the page if I can find it. But I don't see it. I don't see it just yet, so I'll keep looking in case I missed it. That's SWL 128 out of Fairfax, Virginia. Let me see if Virginia's on the list tonight. Hello to Kentucky, just in there now. New Jersey coming in. He might have had some other things going on. We'll keep an eye out for John there. How about SWL 131? In Northwest Fresno, shortwave listener 133.
Good evening, Dennis. 133 is checking in.
Sounding good. Nice audio. Nice audio on that radio. Thanks for checking in. SWL 135, we're going to proxy you in unless we hear you on the crossband. Or reasonable facsimile thereof. And the Phantom, AJ. SWL 137 checked in. Then we head way out of town. Go east, young man, for SWL 147. Neil in Fayetteville, North Carolina, who is on. Let me see what's up with Neil tonight. Cold and rainy, down to 35, but no snow. It's actually been kind of sunny and warm a little bit. If you can find the sun during the day when the sun goes down, forget it. Rain, yes, we're getting rain, and that means we'll be sending more your way. Plus, they're getting snow. All right, well, that could be a good thing. We need snow around here. I don't know about out there. Good conditions this week, according to the Neil. In the morning, I haven't been on the radio all that much to know what's been going on, but as OBP reporting over on the video side, sunspot's still at 0, so it ain't the best, but it might be getting better. Thanks, Neil. With the KG6 call still going on, I'm looking forward to hearing that one somewhere, maybe on a local repeater when you're in town, or we'll be kicking it up when I work on my antennas here coming up soon. Let's head up to, we're going way up, aren't we, to Course Gold, SWL 195.
195, jumping in, Dennis.
Sounding good. They got snow in North Carolina, but I have a feeling it ain't snowing up there yet. but it might. We'll see what happens. Actually could see the Sierra, whatever you call them. And there was snow on the tops. I think right at about 5,000 feet. Transmitters, all the local transmitters, about 4,500. You get up to where M&M is there at Shaver Lake, and the snow just starts. So you've got to be up in some altitude, probably about 5,000 feet around here to get the snow. Speaking of altitude, let's give a call for SWL 226. And any stations that I may have missed or would like to check in now. The break OTR, go ahead. 650 up in Coarsecold, sounding good where it is cold, but not snowy. All right, well, hopefully you've got a wood stove or a huge transmitting tube or something to keep you all warm up there. Your signal is sounding good down here in the flatlands. 650 up at Coarsecold, waving a hand not only to us here in the Central Valley, 27085. We call it the old tube radio net between 8 and 10 o'clock on a Saturday evening. I just heard a crash behind the rack, so I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to go check that out if I smell smoke. In the meantime, everyone else waving a hand at oldtuberadio.net worldwide. And up on the video, we're going to change the video. Actually, we're not going to change a thing. The video is going to go over to the tube radios. I'm going to change the audio stream just a second, and that'll be going to the tube radios, and we'll be back with your glow-in-the-dark radios in the old tube radio network. Back in a moment. All right, I think I'm back. We're up on the audio stream. We'll say the video stream, and hopefully the jingle singers will tell us what's going on.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
greetings to you.
Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, Old Tube Radio, the Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California. 27085 is where we are at. The radios you will be hearing from the collections of those that I can hear, hopefully tonight, wherever you might be, checking in. We'll see what we've got. Also, if you're listening in at oldtuberadio.net or watching on the video and you've operated a tube radio sometime this week, go ahead and type in the chat window or leave us a message on what that radio was, and I'm going to add it to our digital listener list. See what's going on in other parts of the world on tube radio. So if you've operated tube radio this week, let us know about it, and we'll get it on our list here tonight. Let me do an update there. Stop transmitting, and I'll say OTR is listening for radio number 1.
Like OTR.
45.
And we've got our radios 1 and 2. Hi, Paul. Go in the green room. We'll get you as radio number 2. Sounds like you're warmed up and ready to go. Be right back with you. And stepping up into the Old Tube Radio air chair is our current 00 SWL 56. And I'm going to log you in at 846. Phil, and we'll pass it over to you and let us know what's the microphonium connected to. Over.
Well, thank you, Dennis. The microphonium is connected to a Swan 1011.
A rare bird, and I suppose I could say pun intended, as Phil is in, what is it called, an aviary? Checking out the swans, but a lot of you might say, well, wait a minute, isn't Swan, aren't they known for amateur radio stuff? And indeed they are, or they were, but I guess there's a little secret that we'll talk about here from the Swan Company, and any of you who are familiar with Siltronics, you might want to stay tuned for this one. Phil, I'll find a shot. I don't think it'll be of the radio you're operating, but I'll find a shot of a Swan 1011 so we can let people know they actually exist as you give us a transmission. Over.
Well, thank you, Dennis. Yeah, they actually do exist in rare numbers. They were kind of pressured out of production. You tell the story, Dennis, so I'll let you do it. Back to OTR.
Okay, we got a nice shot of the Swan 1011. It says Swan 1011 right on the front. Real Swan aficionados might say that looks a lot like a 270. I think they based it off one of their novice rigs or something close to that. But there's the shot, and we don't have the running video on the main page, but we do have a link if you want to go to the video side. We've got a picture up there. Let me see what I can tell you about a Swan 1011 here. Frequency range will go, if you've got the right crystals put in, all of the 10 meter amateur band, and then from just below channel 1 to above channel 23, there was receive only, but you could get I guess put in the right crystal to operate, transmit in the 11 meter band. May not have been type accepted to transmit there. It would receive, and that's how when they shipped them out, that's how they did it, to get past the 260 watts PEP input on a band that was mode that was supposed to have 5 watts DC input. All right, and the original Swan 1011 plane, which is what... in fact, make sure it's still working there, Phil. Give us another transmission on the Swan 1011 plane.
Well, actually, the Swan 1011 was just the Swan 1011. The first Siltronics that came out was considered to be the plane, and then Siltronics added the B, C, and D.
Okay, because we're looking at the Swan 1011, because it says Swan. It doesn't say Siltronics. And the Siltronics version, basically the same unit with different cosmetics. The story goes that hams, and they may have advertised this in QST. Somebody told me that amateur radio operators kind of got miffed when Swan actually came out with a supposed 11-meter radio, putting the 11-meter band back in. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but there was a protest to Swan, and when the first Swan 1011 ad showed up in one of the ham magazines, I guess it was 73 magazine it showed up. I don't know what year that was, 1969 or 70. The rig was seen by hams as nothing but a Swan CB transceiver, even though it wasn't. I mean, it did do 10 meters. So damage control kicked in for Swan, and back at the shop, they made a separate Siltronics company. Sam I. Lewis, S-I-L, Siltronics company, was formed to market the renamed rig, Siltronics. So you've got a Siltronics radio, you basically have a Swan. If you have a Swan, you could have a Siltronics. Just look at the front label, although this is quite rare, so you can see what happened. Swan sort of put the kibosh and said, well, okay, I don't know, I don't have a production number for how many of these were actually made that had the Swan label on it, but that's a rare item. Over.
Yes, indeed it is, and I don't know if I'm over-modulating or not, but my meter tells me I am.
You're not too bad. You could probably back off a little bit, getting a little fuzzy around the edges. I bet it sounds, if I went to sideband, if I put on the upper and lower sideband, I bet you sound really good there. So I think without going through too much readjusting, you're probably fine for the moment. Over.
Okay, well, I backed the mic gain down a little bit, but yeah, these are kind of fun radios to operate if you're patient, and not only if the operator is patient, but those on the receiving end are patient enough to guide you through getting it set up right. But anyway, I don't think I've made too many more adjustments on this since I last transmitted on it.
Well, it sounds good. I don't know if you have, those were analog dials that may or may not be calibrated. You sound like you're on frequency. I didn't do a zero beats. There was optional, I think, digital frequency counters you could put on there. I don't know if you have something like that. I can check your frequency if you want. But yes, there's a little bit to getting this on the air. It's a transceiver all in one box, but you've got the PA tune and load, almost like like you would for a linear amplifier. You've got a carrier insertion. These play well on sideband. Those of us who were around at the time when the Siltronics started coming out and the Yaesu FT101Es started coming out, that I always thought the Siltronics sounded better on sideband. The 101s sounded better on AM, unless, like Phil, you were pretty adept at figuring out how to do that carrier insertion, and then and with the proper microphone, they sounded pretty good, as Phil is showing us here. So a fun radio. Also, if you're wanted to get into amateur radio or you had your novice license, it would be a good choice there. I don't ever recall anyone being busted for running a 1011, but I'm sure if you had more than a transmitter going on, that could be. Give us another transmission. I'm looking to see if we have anything about Sam I. Lewis on this little blurb here, but I don't. But the picture speaks a 1,000 words. Siltronics fans, yes, indeed, there was. This is the granddaddy of your Comanche or your 1011B or whatever. It's right here. Give us another transmission.
Well, thank you, Dennis. The Siltronics 1011 Delta came with factory came with a jack for a frequency which the Siltronics also sold. This one does not have it. I'm sure it could be wired in, a frequency counter wired in. This one seems to be a little bit more stable on frequency than the Siltronics. I don't know why, but it doesn't seem to suffer as badly from the drift as the other sills that I own.
Well, OBP, who had, and I don't know which one I can't remember which one you had, Kevin, but he solved that problem by leaving it on forever. And so when we did the old sideband net, it wasn't moving around much at all. And on AM, we really can't tell. Those who are listening in at oldtuberadio.net or any of the audio replays heard me go into the lower sideband and the upper sideband mode and tune you in where your sideband audio sounds marvelous, and tune you in at 27.083.8. So you're a little more than a KC low, even though we really can't tell on this wide-banded AM receiver. Sounding good, both on, and that is, let's see, that is not doubles. It's single sideband, so you can go to lower or upper, and indeed you will be, even though when you're on AM, of course, you're on double sideband, but that is single sideband, correct?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, that is correct.
All right, OBP, who had the 1011D. How could I forget? You had the Comanche in. He says, to stay type accepted, don't cut the purple wire. Well, there was probably something in there to cut or add to mess up the type acceptance, if there ever was one for 27 megs, which there might not have been, maybe just as a receiver. Sounding good. All right, getting us started. I want to spend a little time with this radio because there aren't many of them out there, and they don't come by that often. So, like, when you're out bird watching, right, and you see the rare... the rarer fowl, you want to spend a little bit of time talking with and explaining things. The Swan 1011. Just wonder how many they actually sold to amateur radio people. Just like, yeah, I want that. I'm a Swan collector, and I bet those who are avid Swan collectors on the amateur side wish they had one of these if they don't, because it's part of the mix. Back to you for one more transmission. Thanks for taking the extra effort to bring it by. Over.
Well, thank you, Dennis. And I'm using a non-amplified D104 microphone. There have been people that will argue that the Shure 444 is a good match as well, but overwhelmingly, I think the D104 is better. Anyway, thank you, Dennis, and back to OTR.
I'm going to say for AM, I think you're right. For sideband, we'd have to do the audio test, but the radio has a low, it accentuates the low frequency, so sometimes you need a microphone that punches that high mid-range, and the D104 will do that. And just on an aside, just looking at the S-meter, which I just did for a moment here, looks like you probably have enough audio. You may just have a little bit too much carrier drive, because I wasn't seeing any movement at all on the meter. That's usually an indication that you might have the carrier control too high, but it sounded just fine for what we are doing here. There was and Paul, we're going to be right with you. There was a breaking station that was trying to get in, I think. So let me take a pause here. Was there a breaking station for OTR? Over.
Yeah, Roger. It was me.
Okay, I will go over to the shortwave listener list, and we can get you checked in. Over.
Thank you.
All right, and that is SWL, if I can find my list here, SWL 64, One-Eyed Jack, who is, I put my video to where we should be here. Let me, on the screen that looks better, thanks. And we've got Jack checked in. All right, at 8:57, let's head over to SWL 45. Hello, Paul. Hopefully I'm still transmitting. Over.
Yeah, listen to that anti-Celltronics. I know it's not a Celltronics, but it's about... Anyway, this is not any radio like that. This is a pure Simpson. CDB-5.
All right, CDB-5 from Pierce Simpson. I think we might have some video or photos of that. Well, I look for that. Give me another transmission on Pierce Simpson. Always, I think they made some of the better looking radios if you're into mid-century modern stuff.
Yeah, it's a nice looking little radio. This is either mobile or big. 115 volts, 117 volts, 12 volts. They don't go into 6 on it. This thing was manufactured, I believe, in 1979 and 61. They got the
I don't know which one is correct. But anyway, I believe it's one of the first ones that Pierce Simpson made. Yeah, that's the picture of it right there. Three-way radio. Didn't have anything on the front except the modulation light. You can't see when you turn on the thing. You got to look and see the tubes are lit when you turn on the thing. Why they didn't put a light like that on the thing, but they did. Yeah, I think it's just a little bitty radio. It's not much bigger than the CS Emerald radio telephone mobile. That's about it. Very little nut in a nutshell there. It's a flat power speaker, by the way, too, which it's got good receive, and hopefully it's sounding pretty good.
Sounds good. Audio's nice and loud. That's a great picture. It says it's from your collection. I like the map in the back. You're rivaling Cliff on the film noir there with it is a pretty radio with the blue and doesn't look too complicated, but I like how they did everything. That's very nice. Audio is good. Just with the microphone you've got there, so no problem. Not sure. How is the receive? You say I'm sounding pretty good, right?
By the way, I kind of missed you there for a little bit. This is a Pierce Simpson microphone on the thing, too. It says Pierce Simpson right on it. I kept checking to see who made it. I know it wasn't Charter, one of the other mics that I got something like it on it. There's a large microphone. So it could be, I don't know. I'm not going to see what it is, because I don't know for sure. But anyway, like I say, it's a neat little radio. And my Harvey helped me get it going. My good old Harvey, which I'm having a problem with. I go to a certain point that I get to a point where I can't go any further. I got to get an expert in. Good old Harvey had tackling me, got her going real good. Thanks, Harvey. And thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Thanks for bringing it by. Sounds nice. Looks good. It's our Radio 2, the Pierce Simpson Charlie Delta Bravo number 5. 5 channels. Price on that, 1959 to 1961. So one of the earlier ones. It might have been 6 volt. No, it's 12 volt only, it says. 117 volt, 12 volt. 5-channel crystal control transmit and receive. Universal transistorized. 117 12 volt power supply. 11 tube performance. Super het. Not bad. One RF and 2 455 KCIF stages. Series noise limiter. Adjustable squelch. Carbon mic. Pi network output. Pilot bulbs. Output indicator. TVI trap. Sounds like a cool little radio, and it sounds great. As many of you know, Paul is not, he's up in the hills. He's not right down the street from me, so he does a good job. Let's see, we got Jingle Singers coming up. We'll take Radio 3. I want to touch base with our video people. Tim John is asking, how high is my ground plane? It's probably 15, probably about 30 feet above ground, which is low. And I'm not in a valley. Well, we're all in a valley, but it's pretty flat here. So we're surrounded by mountains, but the mountains are 20, 30 miles away. So it's not like we're in a big, small little pit here. So we get pretty decent coverage for most of the stations we're talking to in the 0 to 15 mile range that are flat. Get down to Reedley, then it starts going ground level, and then some of our stations up in Coarsegold and Paul, what you just heard up in North Fork, are in the mountains that overlook this area here, and they may be as much as 40, maybe 50 miles away. But they have the altitudes. They beacon in pretty good. Also want to say hello to up there in Ohio, as always, the Bob and Steve show. Westchester and Oxford checking in after their performances with the Jingle Singers in the green room. In fact, the Jingle Singers are up at the Ribbon Microphone. They'll be up next, so maybe they'll sing in your honor. And Rob from snowy Colorado saying he received 14 inches. Holy cow! Well, the whole state of Colorado is about the altitude where our mountains start receiving snow. So the valley, even the valley there is up high. And the snow skipped to California tonight, says Rob. Although I think he said last week he thought he was going to come in. All right. Well, the DX100. Put the DX100. I was just looking at the DX100. It's a big radio. I used to talk to the guys on 75, and that was the one of the radios that showed up a lot were the Viking Valiants and Rangers and the Heathkit DX100. I never had seen a DX100. I had a DX60. That was my novice rig, was a DX60. And I saw the DX100. I said, that's a radio. It's a heck of a lot more than the DX60. And yes, it does cover 11 meters when it was ham band in the 50s. So we'll take non-Class D check-ins. We have before. Plate modulation. All right, I'm going to put the DX100 on the list here. So I think that qualifies. Thanks, Rob, for that. And let me stop talking. Let's go to the Jingle Singers for the top of the hour. And then after the Jingle Singers, we are looking for radio number 3.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
And we are standing by for radio number 3. Oh, and I wanted to mention Stan, SWL71, found a net on 7.189, 40-meter band, 7189, that does air checks. It records you, and it can play it back on YouTube to see how you sound. Does it? Yeah, it sounds familiar. Out of Indiana, and it's only on Friday from 3:30 to 5. I bet I won't be able to hear that. Or I'm sure they won't be able to hear me. Let me put it that way. I think even with a good antenna, that's during that time. At night, maybe hear the 8s and 9s. It's been so long since I've been at 40 at night. Was I listening in last night? I think I heard 5. It does open up, though. So, like I said, I'm anticipating, hopefully in the next 4 weeks, to have a fairly decent 40-meter antenna up. So we will see that. I guess I'll have to watch the YouTube playback. Maybe we'll hear some familiar stations on there. OTR is listening for radio number 3. Hello, Paul, over.
Yeah. Heard my beef in the background, did you? Yeah, I'd like to check in my Pierce Simpson companion.
All right, the Pierce Simpson companion will find a shot. And I have a Pierce Simpson radio here. I forgot that I had it. I think it was... I'm trying to think whose collection it was from. I want to say SWL1, but that's not right. I actually think it came from Manuel when he was with us. Manuel, the old Quaker. It's a Pierce Simpson Simba. So that is probably mid-70s. I remember seeing those early, like 72, 73. It was a nice big sideband radio with a clock and everything else. But the Pierce Simpson we're talking about here is obviously, I'm pretty sure, before 1970, and you were calling it the Companion, over?
Yeah, 1962. Yeah, you got it right there. Good. Yeah, that's my radio. This is when they made them all of plastics. I don't know what their idea was, but it's kind of different. It's kind of a red and maroon thing, and the whole case is red and maroon on it, and you can see the front, rather attractive to the front. Nothing fancy, doesn't have a meter on it, nothing like that. Matter of fact, the lights are a little scarce on it too. It doesn't have a place for a crystal, would be a transmit crystal in the front. And it's only got 5 channels on the thing too, just like the other one. So 1962, so that'd be a couple years. But they made a few in between, too. I know you know that. You probably sent Benny Simpson with some of that stuff, Dennis. Back to you.
Pierce Simpson just made, I think they're just cool-looking radios. Again, I've mentioned that before. It looks like a tabletop broadcast AM radio. I have a return video screen that is mirrored to check when I put something on, and I was looking at my mirrored screen, and it looked like it had the number 29. I'm thinking, what is a 29? And I looked at the proper screen, and it's actually the initials PS. And you reverse them, they look like 29. So instead of writing the whole name out somewhere, Pierce Simpson, they've got the big PS on there. It's a good thing they weren't like Bear Simpson. Then you'd have a big BS on your radio. The Pierce Simpson Companion is in CB4. So, yeah, it's got to be an early one there. I was hoping I thought I had a Pierce Simpson advertisement that talked a little bit more about that radio, but it does not. I'll say one thing. The speaker grill is real impressive, so hopefully I sound good.
Yeah, this has the same type of microphone on the other one, on the old one. Well, I say the old one, 2 years younger. So, Nate Mike, I guess by Pierce Simpson. I'm going to find out who manufactured this thing. Maybe I've got to research it. I got 3 or 4 of these mics around that I don't know the name of them other than Pierce Simpson's what you got. So that's about it. Very nice here the radio with being all plastic. We didn't want to drop something on it. You break everything up. But other than that, it's a nice looking radio. Back to you.
It is, sounds good. I'm going to say the audio might not be as loud as the CDB5, but the quality is just fine. No problem or anything like that. So putting in a good signal as well. Take another transmission. I'm going to sneak over to the radio table here, and we'll find out how the crystal's hanging into 27085. Over.
Yeah, sure. I think lighting right on. Yeah, I got one up that's a little high, and one up right on. This might be the one right on. You let me know. Did I get in there long enough? Yeah,
back over to the chair and the foot switch. 2708485. So, is that 200 cycles? Something. It's very close. For a radio that old, it's doing quite well.
Okay, good. I got the next one up. I'm going to check in next if it works for you. This one is 2 years old and all the things. For and next if it's possible. Thanks, Dennis.
All right, we're taking a look at you on the S meter, about S8, 7.5 S8, and it does move with the modulation, so that usually is an indication that you've got fairly decent gain coming into the radio. Radio number 3 tonight, the Pierce Simpson Companion, sounding good in the old Tube Radio Network, and we were listening for radio number 4.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest nation for you by far is known to all and
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
Want to say hello and check in, beaconing from the hovercraft somewhere in Northern California, X4000. Checking in on the old Tube Radio Network tonight. Sometimes he's able to take our signal and relay it and bounce it up to the International Space Station so that they can all hear the old Tube Radio Network. So hopefully they're having some fun up there tonight listening into our radios. We're looking for radio number 4.
Radio number 4.
45.
Yeah, we've got radio number 4 and number 5. Hello, Paul. Take a quick jump into the green room. We will get you as radio number 5 after radio number 4 from SWL 42. We'll get Jerry to come up in the air chair here at, that's my official login time, 9:14. And I have a feeling it's going to be our first two-piece radio tonight. Hello, 42.
Well, I hope it's worthy of listening to. I've been having issues, and hopefully this is taking care of it. But it's your Browning Laboratories Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
The Mark III SSB, another bird. We had a swan earlier. Now we've got an eagle. And did the swan? The swan also did sideband, but it was a transceiver. This one, the transmitter receiver. I'll get a picture up. It sounds like it's working. I hear the ping. The audio might be a little bit low, but I think we're fine for what we're doing here. You've got a pretty decent signal, so no problems there. Over.
Well, yeah, we've got the G-Bass D104 with the non-amplified. Other than that, I mean, I could throw something else to it to give it more audio. But this is the first one for the night. It's like a repetitive thing every weekend, but you can't help it. You gotta love them. And then I've got one more that I can check in after number 5. But this is your golden oldie, good old Browning.
You can never go wrong with the Browning, especially on the old Tube Radio Network when you have not one box, but 2 boxes full of tubes. Always beats out all the other radios when you think, well, it's 11 tube, it's 13 tube, and I think between both of those, there's at least maybe 18 tubes or so. And it is our first Browning Golden Eagle of the evening. I have a feeling there might be a few more coming through, but well here as radio number 4. We'll go back to you. Those were produced 1972 to about 1976 when they needed to do something with 40 channels, and they did. But until that time, if you were... back in the day, if you were one of the chosen few, you had one of those on your desk in 1973. Sometimes it takes a while for those of us who weren't to have them on our desk in 2019, but I'm glad it's there. Take another transmission.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. This has been a long time coming for this one. Taken me probably over 30 years. Priority residence over everything else, but yeah, you gotta like it. My old man had one, and that was burned into my my memory ever since then, and I was like 11, 12. So I remember those so well, and this is one that's really stuck with me. So I will definitely be back here shortly, but appreciate it once again, Dennis.
All right, thanks for bringing it by. That's why we're here, to get people to check in on their... Boy, what happened to my audio? Hold on a second. I'm probably blasting everybody out on the internet here. Let me turn that down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, sorry about that. That's why we are here, to make sure that there is a forum available to fire up these old radios. Some of them are daily drivers, some of them are not. But for those that aren't, this is a good forum to at least maybe get one of them in for 2019. And you've got that one in sounding good tonight. Thanks, Jerry. Let's go over to Radio 5, and that would be Paul, otherwise known as the Falcon. And if you're hearing me, Paul, tell us what you've got fired up this time. Over.
Okay, I'm going to finish it off with another Pierce Simpson. This is a Model Escort.
All right, the Pierce Simpson Escort. Boy, the audio is just moving around tonight. That's what I get for using a different... for using a different IE thing tonight. It makes the video work, but now the audio doesn't work. Let me grab the picture of the Pierce Simpson Escort. You did say, yeah, okay. I'm getting all the names because I was thinking we just had that. No, we had the Guardian before that. And we'll go back to you for a transmission as I try and find the proper photo. Over.
Yeah, okay. I believe this is my favorite Pierce Simpson of all the radios on the thing. The way it's set up, it's got the string tuner on it, the thing. VFO also got a crystal selector on the thing, on 9 crystals. And it's got a meter on it, believe it or not. And the meter's working. It's not very large. You'll see it in there. You can comment on that meter. But you wouldn't be able to use this thing for a mobile. You wouldn't be able to see it. I'm real close to it. I even have a hard time seeing it. But it's got lights on it all over the place. We flipped it, and the lights change from red to blue and everything. They just went all the way out with the lights, which I'm glad they did. And the case is not plastic. It's aluminum. All right, that's it. Other than I did shoot a little bit. This thing didn't come with a microphone, so I'm checking in with a Turner Plus 3, one of my favorite Turner microphones, too. Back to you.
Sounds good. Nice audio. I found my audio problem. So let me bring me back up and apologize to those listening on the internet. I just have to adjust your volume. I think we're back to where we should be now. Both transmit and receive. I was trying to adjust the video for what Paul is talking about, and if you're watching the video, there's the lights he's talking about. They don't show up real well because I don't think the radio is on in the picture. So I'm going to bring the gain up. It'll wash the radio out, but you can see a row of various colored lights above where the S meter is. I'm going to say that's the same S meter they got in the Pierce Simpson Guardian 23, because that really looks like the one I've got. So what type of a light show do you get? Do you have to transmit for any of those to come on and wink at you, or it just happens no matter what you do?
The Turner's really a nice microphone. One nice thing about it, you can't hardly over-modulate the thing, so you can't make it sound bad. You have to really get into it. I don't like to run that type of microphone. So other than that, that's about it on the thing. Thank you, Dennis.
All right, thank you, sir. Let me get the video back down where I want it here. And the Pierce Simpson Guardian, or not, the Pierce Simpson Escort. I'm thinking about my Guardian that I actually ran for OTR a couple of times. It's got really nice audio. Good receive, too. I like the receiver on that. I think they have the new Vista front end. This was their top-of-the-line radio, I think, before the Guardian at $229.95. It might have been out at the same time the Guardian was. Let me go back and see. I think this is, I was talking about an advertisement. I think this is where the advertisement actually was on this selection here. So, yeah, that was their middle of the line. There was the Companion 2 at about $189. Then you went up to the Escort, which is what we just heard with Paul, and that was $229. And then the Pierce Simpson Guardian 23 was their top-of-the-line model at just under $300. But I'm going to say it looks like the Guardian and the Escort were sharing a few similar things. Can't see from the inside, but you never know. So I think that's a good choice. Radio number 5, the Pierce Simpson Escort. Thanks, Paul, for bringing it by here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Thanks, Dennis.
OTR.
And the break OTR, Mr. 00, you will be radio number 6, over.
Thank you, Dennis. How about a Browning Golden Eagle Mark II with little to no ping?
Little to no ping is okay. I think occasionally Mr. Ed gets his to be no ping at all, but I heard it screech. So I had an idea, a precursor that I might be going into the Browning section to look for the radio, and then I realized that for some reason, I think it has to do with our person that was building the database didn't like Brownings all that much. So we don't have a great picture of a Mark II. And I know there's probably one on the Facebook from some of our collectors, but we'll let the audio and your words eye view speak for our video tonight. Over to you.
Well, thank you, Dennis. optional wooden cabinet. You could purchase, I think it was around $20, $30 at the time. I also have with the set the trans adapter and the SSB15 sideband trans.
So it makes it more than a two-piece radio. You go from, well, the normal two-piece radio, and you get the sideband adapter. All those things that they figured out how to meld into the giant transmitter when they went to the Mark III SSB. Also, I noticed, and you may notice as well if you're looking at any type of modulation meter or something, that on your second transmission, the audio came up considerably over.
Yes, that seems to be an anomaly with this particular radio. It starts out shy, but then it likes to get talking.
That's a good thing. I heard it well either way, and you have some of the hard-to-find accessories that go with it. I think that the cabinet and the speaker case sold for, I don't know, a little over between $20 and $30, which I guess today's value, it seems like a great value. Maybe back then it seemed like it was expensive, but everything, the whole radio was expensive, but kind of a cool way to do it. Now, of course, I'm going to say only the radio fits in the cabinet, right? The other accessories are off in their own little cabinets, correct?
Yes, that's correct. They're separate components that they all meld together with patch cords and such and so. The trans adapter allows you to switch between the AM transmitter and the sideband transmitter. All in separate cases, all separate components. I think the only other thing that I would be missing to complete the set would be the speaker. I do not know if they made a patch for a foam patch or not. I don't think they did.
Wow, I don't know. I'm trying to think of any 11-meter radios had something of the phone patch. I don't know if that was a FCC-approved thing to do, at least on 11 meters. It seemed like it would be something interesting, but you could certainly put a hybrid patch on there. One of the landliners from Yaesu hooked it up right. Heathkit had some, so not that one couldn't be hooked up, but it'd be cool if you find one. You may have the only one. Sounds good. I know there's a little bit of, and it's probably just because the audio is up, the mic gain is up higher now. I'm hearing a little bit of, I want to call it feedback or something is coming through, but it's not messing anything up on our Radio 6 from Browning Laboratories, the Golden Eagle Mark II that probably should have been out and about, I'm going to say 1969, 70, and 71. The radio that came after the R68, T68, but before the Mark III. Sounds good. Give us another transmission on your Browning, over.
Well, very well, Dennis. What am I using? Hang on here. Oh, I'm using an amplifier microphonium.
All right, well, it started amplifying just fine, so there you go. You've got to be, with the Brownings, although they will take just about all the audio you can throw at them, and what happens is they keep the sound nice. It just brings up a lot of background noise. Was it Jerry or Everett? I can't remember. One of them had so much audio on one of their Brownings that we used to have to wrap them in one of their curtains in their living room when they were talking, just to keep the voice from reverberating off the walls. Yours is definitely not that bad right now, and there's no canines or trains going by, so you're safe.
Well, real good, Dennis. Thank you, and I've got another one that's warming up, so back to OTR.
All right, sounds good. The Old Tube Radio Network, real radio's glowing in the dark, a thing we do every Saturday for the past 34 years or so here, 27085 Channel 11 in Central California. The reason we've been doing it so long is, as you've heard, there's a lot of people out here in the Central Valley that will be kind enough to take a few moments out of their Saturday evening, whatever they might be doing, and sneak into the Radio Shack and share their radio collections with us. We're glad they do. In the meantime, at the bottom of the hour here, let's go to the Jingle Singers as they tell us why we do this.
listening in the latest.
7.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Fresno, California.
I guess I'd be Radio 7.
As you catch me trying to get some water here before the jingle singers stop, you would be radio number 7, over.
Oh, yeah. Remember those. Put on a long song so you could go take a bathroom break. Oh, yeah. Got to run down the breezeway to get to the bathroom because they're too cheap to put them in each office. I know how that's... yeah, number 7. We got the Lafayette Comsat 25A.
All right, now that is a loud radio. We'll find one of those. And if the radio station was really cheap, not only do you have to run down the hall, but once you get there, there's no, what I would call, air monitor. So you know if you're actually doing something that you're supposed to do while you're not there to do it. Yeah, all right. You are on the 25A, is that correct, over?
Yes, sir. We took and turned it down if that helped it. I'm actually running a 1104C.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think you're perfect right where you're at. I'm going to pull up the 25A. I want to say that's... If you were doing what is an old tube radio? This is the standard shot. This is an old tube radio. This is what I think most people expect to see. The Comstat 25A, the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. It's got a couple of knobs, a speaker, an S-meter in a standard case. Not too fancy, but they sure work well. And they were a very popular radio. And as you're displaying, they stand the test of time.
Yeah, and again, like the Browning, it's another one that's been serviced and set up by Harvey, so he's the doctor that's keeping them all going. And yeah, for what it is, it's a basic rig, and I like because you can actually have it mobile mounted.
Yeah, it's not showing in this photo, but sometimes the photos we get, you get the, it shows the mobile mounting bracket across the top. What is it showing? There is that a range boost? Range boost, PACB, classic stuff. And the modulation light, which I'm sure in your case, if it's not malfunctioning or broken, is winking pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely winking at you. Yeah, it's... the only thing I don't really care for is how small the meter is, but yeah, you've got your range boost, and this is with it on, this is with it off. Don't look really like much happened there, and I'm sure I could leave it off and then compensate for it being off with the gain on the mic, but with it down, it's still there. It's mellowed the light out a little bit, but yeah, your volume, your squelch is also your standby, so you can have it on and flip it to standby, and it sits and idles for you till you're ready to run it. But then your PACB, I do like it has the plate and load in the back, and then your meter adjustment.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. You can test things on the scope. Sounds good either way, with or without the range boost. I think you've got it internally adjusted just about right for where the microphone is, so you can get by with either or. The radio itself looks like it can go into distortion. I noticed a little bit of the fuzz with the non-range boost. You get a little bit more with the range boost on, so whatever's in there being tickled gets tickled a little bit more, but you're basically 100% either way. Either way on the audio, S-meter, in the way yours is configured, and it may or may not have a light, or the light may or may not be burned out, but is the S-meter illuminated? Or I should say, is yours illuminated?
No, unfortunately it ain't. That's got one of those little, what do they call them, Rice. There goes the tube. Hello. Yep. Hello. I got a tube that's something's acting squirrely. Hello. I was hoping it wouldn't do it while I was doing this. No, it's not. It's got that little grain of rice light, and it's very difficult to change, but no, mine's burnt out.
Okay, I just ask because that's typically the case. That's what I say, though. Like a clock, an old clock in your classic cars, sort of like the dial lights in these. Those are the things that if you're going to have something that's kind of not working, that gets the pain in the neck, it'll be your dial light or your clock in your car. Now, there is one of the radios, Phil's got one that actually has a clock in it. Actually, I don't think he has a clock, but the Hammerlin put those clocks in it, so it's good. It's actually behaving. And Ray says the last couple of transmissions sounded really good, and I agree. And what others are comments? Another loud one. So, yeah. Everybody's liking the sound on that Lafayette. I thought it was something different when you first keyed up, but it's putting out a good show for us tonight. Let me do one more click here to see if I've got any info on the 25A. Panasonic, I didn't know that. I thought that the Panasonic came on the Compat 25B, which was a totally different looking radio. But the later Lafayettes that weren't the HB series, I guess, and weren't made by DeWalt, were made by Panasonic. So there you go, one of the imports. That might even be plate modulated, who knows. CB20, page 61 of the Sam's Photo Facts, and there's an operator manual at oldtuberadio.com. Give us another transmission. You are Radio 7.
Yeah, this is a rarity for me to be doing little on one, do two, but yeah, this is the last one for me. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to pick up the next two I'd like to get, but hopefully within the next year or two, maybe, if I can find something decent. Okay. Radio number 7. We're done.
37.
And sounding good. And while we're in the 7s, we've got 37 at the microphonium. And then Stan has made some comments. I will get to your comments, Stan, because they're apropos to what we were talking about. And Phil, if you're listening, we might have an answer about the phone patch you were talking about here in just a minute. But first, let me crank the beam. What's that? The beam isn't moving? All right, let me crank the ground plane over to SWL-37. Hello, Chris. Over.
Hello, Dennis. I'm just checking in. That's all I'm doing this evening. I'm kind of tired, so I just want to at least get that part in. I fell asleep, woke up.
Well, I think checking in is a good thing. And we're doing that right now, putting you officially up on the board. And sleep is also a good thing. You're in line with, I think, Harvey, who may be out snoozing, but we've set a little alarm. We've doing a little hot foot thing, where we have somebody come over and put the match in his shoe. So he'll be up and running about 10 o'clock. We will not do that to you. We want you to go back to bed and get some sleep. You are sounding good. We are all glad to hear you back on the radio. There's probably some people that are glad that you're not being grumpy anymore. Or ornery. Maybe that's it. You're still grumpy, but you're not ornery. Over.
I can feel a little bit of both still.
All right. Well, that's good. That's a good sign. Sounding good. You always pick us up at oldtuberadio.net or turn the volume up a little bit on the radio and keep on going. So doing good. Hope to hear you again, maybe on the... when you get a chance on the lower side, band side, but good to have you back at the home QTH.
Okay, Dennis, thank you. I'll talk to y'all later. You have a good evening.
All right. Mr. Chris there sounds like he's recuperating well, and it's a treat to have his voice beaconing out amongst the airwaves here on the Old Tube Radio Network. What did I want to say? We're talking about Stan to the rescue. Let me do the first post. He said he just remembered that Swan had made a 23-channel SSB AM CB radio called the Swan 1046. I have seen that somewhere. I just forgot about the Swan 1046. I would like to say that we have never checked in one. No, I wouldn't like to say that, but I'm going to say that, but I may be wrong. I can't remember if anybody had a 1046. And it seems the hams didn't like that one either because it became the Palomar Skipper 71. So be on the lookout for the Swan 1046. And I bet if I go to our database, it's probably not one in there. And then here's another one for you, Phil. Stan said, and something you might look for if you want a phone patch, the High Gain. I think I've seen this. High Gain somebody made, and I just saw one the other day on one of the Facebook pages. It was like a console that had an SWR meter and audio amplifier and some other things. Maybe that's the one he's talking about. But High Gain made a CB phone patch, and Stan had one in 1968, but he sold it. But there were some other, I want to say station consoles, but I think it would be interesting if there's a phone patch in that one. But High Gain CB phone patch, probably, you know who else might have made one? Or had one would be Johnson, E.F. Johnson. But for sure, the High Gain CB. I'll have to see if I can find a picture of that. All right, thanks, Stan. Always good information. Radio number 7, the Lafayette Comstat 25A, and we are listening for radio number 8.
Break OTR.
The Break OTR. Hello, Phil.
Hello, Dennis. Yeah, that's some interesting information on the phone patch deal. Well, this radio is from Polytronics. It's a Polycom, and there is an N right below the amber pilot light, which I think we decided that stood for New Vista.
I believe so. Let me get the Polytronics. There's a picture of the 1046. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to get the radio that's on with us now. I don't have a photo of the radio to know if you have a modulation light on there, because you need a bit more audio. Over.
Yeah, I don't see the modulation indicator moving very much at all. I'm a little closer to the microphone now. There is an indicator light that's just key for transmit. It doesn't flicker with modulation, or if it's supposed to, it isn't. Let's see, 4 channels. Let's see, volume, squelch, and automatic noise limiter.
Nice stuff. We have the Polycom N on our video and also on the page. Does it give... Okay, I thought it might have given credit to who that radio is, where it's from, but it does not. Audio is okay. It's weak. It's almost like you're far away from the microphone, but I think we have enough for those listening. It's coming through 11 tubes. We'll go 6-volt DC. That's the PCN6, the 12-volt DC, the PCN12. And you have a PCN, I think, which if you got it plugged into the wall, it's a PCN if you're not running it off a power supply. 18950 in 1963. I guess that was comparable to the general radio telephones that had, I think, 5 channels, 4-channel crystal control, like you said. New Vistor IF stage. I don't think the general radio telephones have the new Vistor, so that gives it 17-tube extra rugged performance. I sound like an advertisement. Give us another transmission, see if the audio's come up at all.
Okay, Dennis, well, thank you. I'm practically swallowing the microphone. I don't know if it's a mic problem or if it's a weak tube or whatever, but if you can hear me, then it's doing its job.
It's doing its job. The quality is fine. It's just down, not 100%, maybe not even 50%, but good enough on the old Tube Radio Network. Who was it? Mac Lazarus out there in Kerman, who used to say he would stand on his head to make a deal selling a car. I am like Mac Lazarus. I will stand on my head to get a radio to check in. So whatever we have to do, if I have to turn some knobs or go through some acrobatics, please do not be afraid to check your radio in if perhaps it may have an issue. Let us work with it here. We'll see if we can. Okay, where we go? Jiggle Singers are saying they would like to do something, so and I need to adjust their audio, so stand back. Here we go.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California. Old Tube Radio.
For you.
All right. Must have a bad wire going to the other studio. I wanted to, while I'm keyed up here, now that I can't find it, is throw up a picture of the Swan, and we do have one, of the Swan 1046. And there it is. And you can see, for those of you who remember, well, first of all, you can see if I would put it up on the screen. For those of you who remember the Swan 1011, that they have actually, so I say Class D-ized this quite, because they've taken out, there's a picture. They've taken out the tune and load. They've got the upper and lower side bend, and yeah, it does have that look of a Palomar. I can tell just by the meter face there. This is a cool looking radio. I just don't know if anybody around here has one, or we've checked one in, but that's, I suppose you're going to make a CB radio or a Class D. There you go, pretty cool. But they kept the styling, good for them. They kept the black and the silver and the nice big knobs. It's actually a decent looking radio. But yeah, once you get, I'll tell you, once you get a foul of hams, talking about 11 meters, what is up with that? How many of you are amateur radio operators that started in 11 meters? Raise your hand. My hand is raised. So what's up with that? In fact, I always used to think that, at least back in the day, that if you had some radio opera, because they tested you on paper about, what frequency here, and, how to go out of band, and what was a transistor, and antennas in theory. And that's good, but they didn't give you an operating test. It's like taking a driving test and never going behind the steering wheel. So I always thought the people who came up in CB at least knew how to operate a radio. You didn't, you could take your test, but you had some operating experience about how to talk on a microphone and set gain and tune things in and maybe hook up an antenna. So I always thought that was a plus. It still is a plus. All right, I'm going to, off the soapbox here, we are looking for radio number 9, over.
Rico TR.
And you must have pulled the drape, the drape back in the Magic Workshop where all the radios are exposed, and say, look at these radios. And it just became enamored when they all came to life. And we are the benefactors of that, of your extra efforts tonight, Phil. Go ahead with Radio 9, over.
Well, thank you, Dennis. These ones just happen to be relative to get to. This is a Webster band spanner 412.
Webster band spanner 412. We used to get a lot of those checking in way back in the 80s. One of our stations at the time had a few of them. Who else? 81. I think SW81 had one of those. And you said the 412, over?
Yes, 412.
Great. I was hoping I had a picture, and I do. I even have a front and a back. I don't know why, but maybe we'll be able to put a. Let me bring up the camera. There it is. Almost has a Pierce Simpson look to it, huh? With the front end like that. This, and you don't need to do anything because I can hear you just fine, but this is also suffering from probably 50% modulation. I don't see a mod light on that, but do your best. Whatever you're doing sounds good. If you can get more, we'll take it. If not, no problem. Back to you.
Well, I'll get a little closer to the microphone. It's an OEM microphone hardwired into the radio. I don't know if it's a carbon mic or what, but the meter isn't real happy with it.
Doing okay. I see the microphonium, at least on my pictures here, shows that it's hardwired in. So probably what came with the radio is on it now.
Well, I believe so. But if I'm not mistaken, I'm searching my memory bank. I think Webster was a subsidiary company of the Raytheon Corporation.
That rings a bell. I'm just checking to see. Sometimes they'll say it's similar to something. So let me see if I can not prove you wrong. Yes, it looks similar to the Raytheon Raytel TWR something, like the X model. So indeed, probably Webster and Raytheon and Webster Clothing. 9 tubes. Channel 6. 6 channels, 5 internal and 1 external. Okay, that's little holes we're seeing there underneath between the 2 knobs. Sam's PhotoFax CB6. And what does it run? 12AQ5, 6AL5, 6CX8, 6JL8 alternate. So you've got one of those in your output tube. What's the audio? Did I do that? Amplifier, speech amplifier, output modulator, 12AQ5, 12AX7. Has a 12AX7. Maybe it needs a new 12AX7. Give us another transmission.
Well, thank you, Dennis. And this radio does come with a convenient carrying handle on the back of the radio.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Let me go back, because I have a rear projection here. Here we go. I like that. I like when you cue me into something. It's perfect television. There we go. And there's the handle he's talking about. I was thinking it was something on the side, a nice little leather thing, but it's a piece of metal that would you want to touch that when the radio is operating?
Well, I generally stand about as far away from the radios as I can.
Also, I'm noticing, this is pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff back there. I see a tune and load adjustment. I also see what looks like, and it's just too blurry for me to see, some type of, I want to say that's a speaker adjustment. It could be an antenna, external antenna or something, but I'm going to assume since there's a coax below it, that's some type of a external speaker with the screw terminals. There is also two plugs. Not sure what those do, and some other items, and then lots of verbiage, probably telling you what not to do and that they're your type accepted. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at the back of this too, and I'm not sure. There's a let's see, probably a socket for a DC a battery type installation. Another socket, I'm not sure what for. Another socket. I don't know. I'd like to see the operator's manual, just out of curiosity, what all that good stuff is for.
Indeed. Yeah, the audio is really going down now. It's the Carbon microphone for sure. I wonder if that needs the SWL1 Dr. J Carbon microphonium little dance, where you gently, if it's not plastic, sit there and bang it on the side of the table for a little bit to loosen up the granules of carbon so that it will speak a little bit louder. I don't know what is happening. My audio is moving around. Let me get that back down. Sorry to those on the internet. So that might help too. The other thing is who was it that had a microphone? They took an old telephone and unscrewed the microphone element and stuck it in their microphone. It worked well. It's working. We won't push it too far. We're just glad it's on the air. Webster Bandspanner 412. We're looking at the rear projection there. Let me go back to the front side before you sign off. And Stan, SWL71 says Webster and Apelco. That's the other name, Apelco. We used to have some Apelco check-ins as well. We're owned by Raytheon, and all of them used Carbon microphones. So maybe you'll find an old Apelco. Maybe got an Apelco somewhere with you can switch out the element. But it's good. Could be something, but that's something to try. If you can gently, without damage, move, exercise the carbon in that microphonium, it could be a good thing. Radio number 9 is the Webster Bandspanner 412. That's Phil's radio, and we'll go back to you for another transmission. Thanks for bringing it by.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I gave it a little rap. I don't know. If I get right close to it and almost give it a big wet kiss, I can see the meter dancing a little bit. But anyway, it is what it is. And Dennis, I think I'm going to to the easy chair and listen to the rest of the show this evening.
Good deal. No, that helped. Your audio came up. It's actually moving the S meter in the forward position as you are introducing modulation into the carbon granules there. Carbon filter, carbon granules. Worked great for your cigarettes, but better, much better for your microphonium. And that did help. All right. Thanks for your... You had to work extra tonight with these radios, right? Some of them, but that's we appreciate that. So take the well-needed break, And we're going over to... Got some people I want to acknowledge on the video side, but before we do that, let's head over to the Jingle Singers one more time.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
All right, I love it. I get the video problems working tonight by changing things. And now the audio has issues. Thanks to, who was it, Larry, 785, mentioning that it looks like our lip sync is on tonight. I'm using a different browser for the video stuff. So hopefully that will help things out. And yeah, the DX kind of comes and goes on 11 meters. I think it's sort of like 6 meters. It depends where you might be. You get these little hot spots. We have not had any tonight. The last 2 weeks, somewhere during the net, we had conditions come in. We've heard 709 out of Spokane in the last couple of weeks. But nothing tonight. And we're just about able to run out of time here. And let's see, who else? And I'm just refreshing some comments here between all the computers. I should say that we are looking for radio number 10, over. Yeah, that should be our goal this year, is to see if we can get a Siltronics 1046 to check in. I don't even want to imagine what would happen if one of those was to come up on eBay. So maybe we'll have to dig into our collections and see if there's something behind that curtain that we didn't notice. In the meantime, we are looking for radio number 10. And let's see. DX100, Rob in Colorado on the DX100 this week. I don't know if anybody else has operated a tube radio, wherever you might be. Drop us a quick note here before we sign out. We'll mention that, see what's going on the air.
I guess I'll be 10.
10 is good. I always like double digits because I get an extra bonus in my Old Tube Radio paycheck when we can get 10 or more radios.
Well, I wanted to be 11, but too cold out here. So I'll be 10. The Golden Beagle, R68, T68, the usual bird or dog from Browning Laboratories. Anyway, custom D104. And with the matching range booster, it came with the radio and the microphone. In fact, this mic does not have the coiled cord. This mic has the big, long, straight cord that they came with. Excuse me. At that time. A lot of them did anyway. Okay. I'll turn it back to you and catch you next week.
All right. I've got a great shot of the receiver. Big receiver there. The R68, T68. And as always, it is sounding perfect. You don't happen to have a Siltronics 1046 in your library there, do you?
A Swan 1046?
Yeah, looks kind of like the Palomar Skipper, but it definitely says Swan on it.
Oh, that? No. I had, somewhere around, excuse me. I have a 71 and a 73B, I think, but No, I don't have the original.
All right, we'll have to look at the schematics and see how close they are, or how close the Swan was in the insides to the Palomars. Because the Palomars check in, I imagine there probably just wasn't a lot of them out there. So, all right, I know you don't have one. I was just checking with you. Anyway, sound good. Hopefully things will be warming up. We'll get that little window where you can stay in the Radio Shack. Or maybe you just have to turn on, we'll have to come over and turn on all the radios at 3 o'clock, and then when you walk in at 8, it'll be nice and toasty in there.
Oh, yeah. I've done that before. I've turned on a bunch of these things with no intention of talking on them, just to warm up the room. And by the way, it does work. Especially the big boys here. I turn on all the Brownings and this whole side of the room heats up. So I have them all on one side of the room. Okay, I'll let you go. I'm going to get back inside where it's a little bit warmer. And possibly next week, I might have a new item of interest if I have time to get it worked on. Okay, we'll turn it back to you, Dennis, and catch you next week.
All right, thanks. We'd like those new items of interest. Going to be counting and amounting here soon at 10 o'clock. If you'd like to check in SWL-wise or Tube Radio-wise, now's the time before we sign out, and I'll do an evaluation, see if the video works any better than it has the last couple of weeks. Looks like it is, but now it seems like there may be audio issues using the other browser. What's the other thing? It's because it's not on Chrome, you can't link the video up to the other page. So I'll see if I can work on that. Looks like it may just be a way of typing in the address and getting the link. But those of you on the video side, I think you're subscribed, so it comes up anyway. Hello to, don't feel so bad, Harvey. Ray is saying it's a balmy 27 degrees in Harriman, Utah right now. So he probably thinks you're in Hawaii with your 50-degree weather or whatever it is that you have. OTR is standing by, counting and amounting, looking for Radio 11.
Yeah, it's 58. But when you get older, 58 feels like 38. Okay. Catch you next week.
Well, Dennis, I do have a 1958 telephone, and I'll have to try that. The way I'm always tweaking on microphones, I've got the mouthpiece element in there, and I got to set it up to where I can, because it's got the 2 screws in the back of the case. Pull them off, and I'll set it up, and I'll see how that thing will operate.
Yeah, the old mouthpiece, you just screw the mouthpiece off, and the thing just tilted to fall right on your hand. Nice and heavy. I guess the earpiece would do that, too. Might be interesting to check out something like that. It might need a little bit of preamp gain or something to get the carbon to work, but all those early radios running the carbon microphone elements, even on the general radio telephones, they all sound good, but they're tuned for that. It could be interesting. Like I said, it's a part.
Yeah, and what's funny is I got this because again, collector. I've got a certain degree of vintage phones. And this one here was actually bought from a ham operator off of eBay, and he's got 2 cords rolling out of it. He has the one that has the old 4-wire, 4-prong socket to where you could unplug it and plug it into the next room to move it around. And then the second cord coming out had a 2-pin plug that is like the ones on the Browning radios, and I that's kind of, wonder what he was doing with that. But, yeah, he had 2 cords coming out of it, and I'm like, all right. Looks like he was trying to wire the phone for radio and for phone calls.
Yeah, or maybe running... Okay, and then my audio level's changed again. Looks like the audio doesn't lock up too good here on this situation, but the video does. We were talking about the phone patches earlier. Maybe he was doing a phone thing where you're running through the phone patch. I used to do that in the old Yaesu FT101, where you'd run it off the phone patch. And you have to have 2 phone lines. You know, back in the days when you didn't have cell phones, you had 2 phone lines. So I had 1 phone line into the FT101. And then for those late night, I want to stay up on the radio, you take your other line, and you call into your phone patch line and hook it up, and then you take your phone and you go to bed. And you just listen in on the telephone, and it's on a Vox. You put the radio on the Vox, and you just speak in your phone when you want to talk. The bad thing is, but it didn't happen to me. This did not happen to me. The bad thing would be when you fall asleep with the Vox on and you start snoring. But you can do something like that.
Yeah. I would figure that what he would do is when he was done listening or talking, he'd take and go ahead and hang up, and it would disconnect.
Yeah, if you're running Vox, see, I had a radio that ran Vox, so as long as you're not talking, as long as you're not making too much noise, it'll disconnect. And they have the little phone, they're not very popular these days, but the little phone link systems where you can dial in and press some numbers and do things. Activate relays and things. Sounds like you might hear your radio is starting to talk back to you again.
Yeah, that's, I'm sure if Harvey left, he's hearing it, and that's one of the, something's acting weird, so I'll get out of here for now, but yeah, it's another one for the doctor.
Sounds like you're modulating your guitar there on your when you oscillate there.
Yeah, it's the SWL42 vocoder. It's not too bad, but occasionally trips in there. Speaking about tripping in here, the jingle singer's tripping up to the microphonium to let us know it is that time once again.
You're tuned to
OTR Channel 11,
right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us.
Old Tube Radio.
Modern.
All right, last call for radio check-ins. And what do they say on the commercial? And not a speck of skip. No DX here so far, but I'm sure as soon as we turn it off, things will open up. So stay tuned to your radios. Good night, JT. Signing off. And he says, good morning. Some of our stations listening. It is Sunday morning where you might be. Still tuned in tonight. Hello, New York, Maryland, Georgia, Hendersonville, Tennessee, hanging in there tonight. New Jersey, Alberta, Canada. Oh, and Lawrence, Kansas. That's our technical crew checking up on us. Well, I think the video is working well tonight. I'll do a report on what's going on with the audio. I don't think it likes. So we switched over to IE. Can't use Chrome on the video stuff until they fix something. But IE seems to work, but it doesn't allow the links to go through on the video. And what else happens? Something with the audio as well, I guess. I don't know. This is the first time I've tried it after I figured out that, hey, the video lip sync might work better. We'll see what happens. You just never know. What else? Stan, thanking everybody for the great radios tonight. And we did have them. Let's talk about that. First, we had 56 SWLs checking in total, 13 on page 1, 16 on page 2, 11 on page 3. And 16 on page 4. Week 4, so we're halfway through this roster. And we had 10 radios check in tonight that we heard, and one report of some old tube radio activity out there elsewhere. The DX100 firing up. And let's see, what can I do? I could do an HT37. What have I done? I've done the Gonset G76. We got that fired up here. We also got the DX60B, I think, in the early days, got that one to fire up. So have to work on getting some of the non-Class D in there as well, because that's always fun. And you just never know. We might have some surprises on that. Thanks, Rob, for letting us know that the heat kit is working well. Started off with the Swan 1011D. A little bit of controversy with that radio back in the day, but still looking good now. And I guess we're looking for the Swan 1046 by the end of the year, if that's possible. Thanks, Phil. A good effort tonight on some radios that we don't often hear. Paul on his Pierce Simpson CDB5 is Radio 2. And then he came in with his Pierce Simpson Companion for Radio 3. You got to like the design department with Pierce Simpson. They tried to make them interesting for sure. Radio number 4, Jerry on his Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, sounding good 42. Radio 5 was Paul on the Pierce Simpson Escort. The middle in the trio between the Companion Escort and the Guardian. Radio 6, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark II with lots of audio. Thanks, Phil, for that. KW again on the Lafayette Comstat 25A with lots of audio as well. Then, since we had a lot of audio, we wanted to get a few radios that didn't have a lot of audio, just because we wanted to keep our audio balanced. So, Phil on the Polytronics Polycom N for Radio 8. The Webster Band Spanner 412 for radio number 9, and as always, the Harvey Range Boost needs no adjustment to Radio 10, the R68 T68 from Browning Laboratories. Say good night to everybody. Stay warm and dry and out of the snow if that's what you need to do. We will be back next Saturday with your favorite radios, and we thank you for joining us tonight and for those who took time out of their Saturday evening activities to jump in and fire up a radio or say hello. We're glad you did that as well. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping the Nixie tubes running, and thanks to all of you for keeping us running here at the Old Tube Radio Network. 73, everybody.
Good night, good night.
Thanks a bunch there, Dennis.
And good night to New York and Utah and all the SWLs. And now that we've got the video kind of back to where it should be, the radio picture should have looked pretty good tonight. We'll work on figuring out why the audio is doing what it's doing. It may need more compression or something, so hopefully that wasn't too much of a wacky issue. Good night from the Old Tube Radio Network.